What's your ambition in terms of building awareness amongst consumers about the Fair to Nature logo to get them to make different choices, which in turn then creates a virtuous circle of more businesses wanting to use it? Do you think people really want nature at the heart of their shopping expedition?
People really care about nature. I think Lisa might pop some slides up in a second that show uh, some of the key points that we raise in the report. Um, we found that over a third of people, when asked, said that they really cared about nature when they're concerned about nature. 78% say they're concerned about biodiversity loss. And yeah, there's some relatively it's sometimes difficult to claim. If people say one thing in surveys and then they do something else. And I've worked, as I said before, I've worked in the food industry for a long time, and I feel that the food industry has begun to respond on climate, but that's a hard thing to talk about with individuals, with shoppers. And one of the most striking pieces of research that hit me was that question about which people want UK farmers to prioritise, because preserving and enhancing nature and wildlife was the highest environmental priority that people were flagging, as opposed to water, which was just behind, soil and carbon. But you think of the amount of coverage that we get, not just within food circles, not just within the food industry and our response, but indeed within society, it's still the focus and the priority amongst citizens, amongst shoppers, amongst people buying your food, the food businesses, was on nature, despite the fact that there's very, very little communication and engagement on it. And I think that's partly because it's so close to us as individuals. You know, we can touch, we can see, we remember the butterflies, we can hear the bees, we can hear the birds, we can smell the soil when we've had that experience as individuals. So I think it's a very, very sort of relevant thing to engage with. So all of the research that we can see, and when we go out and talk to people in focus groups, is they care about nature. So I think that's why we're calling out for brands to support farmers within their supply chain, to go through a certification process, respond to actually some of those opportunities that government are providing. And I suppose people ask, well, why the RSPB? Why are you getting involved with that? And there's other stats within the research about the role of certification. I think Joe touched on it earlier, and the role of NGOs in being that third party, that independent, trusted reference point. Now, the RSPB logo, the RSPB organisation, is very well known and trusted. 75% of people, you know, as a minimum, aware of the RSPB logo. 71% or something trust it. So I think our role is we've got a science-backed standard. We've got advisors who know what they're doing in supporting farmers to go on that journey. And the plan for the Fair to Nature Mart, I'll be quite unapologetic, is to replicate what some of those other incredible focus certification schemes have achieved. And I said that I started in my work career in sustainability 20 years ago. Nearly 20 years ago, I joined the Fair Trade Foundation. And you're talking about quality earlier, Mike. And I think what Fair Trade helped, not only, but helped a lot of businesses to do is to bring the sourcing, the where their food came from, the cocoa, the sugar, the tea, to life in those supply chains. So our mission within Fair to Nature is to try and do what the Fair Trade movement achieved for growers and workers in the global south for incredible wildlife, biodiversity, and all sorts of species in UK farming. And to underpin the claims and the communication that businesses are putting, to act as a kind of bit of a shortcut and a prompt. You know, for when people are engaging in when they're shopping, they don't always want to know the detail. There is the detail. We can support brands like we've already started to do with Summerdown and with Farm Wilder, and we do on the RSPB bird food. We can provide depth to it, but as a shortcut, you know, certification can be a really useful way of saying to shoppers, look, this is what we're doing, and this is a trusted organisation. And then we can help educate and enroll and envision people to do that across categories. So hopefully we'll be working with people who are buying the mint, or buy the meat, and hopefully buy the cheese and the bread and the milk that we hope to launch with partners in coming months.